Welcome to At Ease, a brand new show featuring General Mark Welsh III, President of Texas A&M University, and Chief of Staff Dr. Susan Ballabina. I'm Jay Sokol. We are excited to have this show and to have you guys hosting this thing. I'm mostly going to sit off to the side, but I thought maybe we could start out by talking about what this show is and is not supposed to be.
Yeah, I'll start here, Susan, if you don't mind.
You bet.
Because the show is not supposed to be about me. It's not supposed to be about Susan. It's not supposed to be even about you, Jay.
Nope.
It's supposed to be about Texas A&M, the remarkable people and things that are happening on our campus every single day. And so we think this is just a great opportunity to let other people around A&M meet the folks they don't get to meet routinely, to hear from them about what they do, because what they do is remarkable. And also to talk a little bit about the outcome of some of the great work that happens around here that we don't get to highlight to the internal audience very often. And there are just remarkable things that happen here. We will typically start one of these episodes, I think, with a discussion of what's going on around campus at any given time, and then follow it with a guest. Today we have a phenomenal guest. Some days it may be like today, we may have a guest from the Aggie athletics arena. Some days it may be a great researcher or a Nobel laureate or a student who's involved in a remarkable activity. Maybe the National Women's Collegiate Rodeo Champion, for example, who's here at Texas A&M. It could be anybody from someone who is working on deep sea research to determine the history of the Earth, to somebody who's doing space robotics, to somebody who's studying the history of the cosmos, because it's all here on our campus. That's the idea. Just educate all of us a little bit more about this remarkable place we are privileged to work and learn at.
I think we should also set expectations on what this is not, which is it's not perfection. Like, you'll get to see real people having fun,
Right.
unscripted, talking like they do every day. And I think that's important for people to see. The officials at the university are just normal people, probably much less smart than some of the people watching and listening. Maybe not you, but me.
Good save.
And then the other thing I want to say is President Welsh has been relentless in charging the cabinet, the deans, the office of the president with over-communicating, and what a great tool for him to be able to use to do that and to communicate in a different way. I mean, he wants all of us to work constantly on communicating messages so that people here feel a part and know what's going on. And At Ease is another great tool in that toolbox, I think.
Well, I think one of the great reasons to do this is because oftentimes we get to experience the two of you through sound bites or through, an abbreviated quote. And we don't often get that deep dive, the depth and the breadth of what you are really thinking about particular issues or impacts of the university, what have you, the most positive things and even things that, are a little difficult. And so I think you have an opportunity to tackle those as well.
Yeah, I'd be careful about assuming that we're actually thinking.
Come on.
That could get you in trouble. What I love about the idea is the title. At ease is it's an old military term, and you basically put your troops at ease when you want them to really relax and communicate and share their thoughts or shake it out a little bit, and not be tense or caught up in the moment of some tough decision or activity that has to happen.
So I'm going to get out of the way. You two have things to talk about. So get at it. You're the talents. Have fun.
Thank you, Jay.
The talents.
Yeah.
At ease, Chief. Dr. Susan Ballabina is a remarkable woman. As she serves as the Chief of Staff at Texas A&M University for a reason. And Susan, why don't you start by letting everybody know a little bit about you, about your
Sure.
family, which is a big part of who you are, and about your professional background.
Sure. Well, most importantly, I have a great family. I was raised in Northeast Texas in Paris. My mother still lives up there, and was just raised by great parents and just really fortunate. And I was fortunate again when I got married to Eddie Ballabina, who's my husband. We have two boys, a senior in high school, Vance, and a freshman in high school, Grant. They're both unique in their own rights, and Vance is a really great distance runner. Grant has autism, and he's getting ready to compete Friday in Special Olympics bowling. So go Grant. So I have a great family, great support system, and essentially I've worked this summer 30 years for the Texas A&M University system. So I guess I like it. I guess I like working for the Texas A&M University system. And I started as an assistant county extension agent in Deep East, Texas, have worked all over the state, had just incredible mentors and supporters, and I really can't imagine working anywhere else ever.
We're in the middle of a great year here at Texas A&M, in my view. Let me just hit a couple of highlights from the last semester, because I think thinking about what's happening from here forward, we're still kind of leaning back on what just finished before the holidays when we went home. And I thought we had a great fall semester. It was a really exciting Aggie football season. Everybody can debate how it ended and whether it should have been better or not. But let me tell you, for a first-year head coach, Mike Elko did a phenomenal job, in my view, with his coaching staff of keeping a team together after the transition, of working the transfer portal, of keeping recruiting on track. And I think the team performed with great pride this year. They never quit on a game. They never quit on each other. I was just immensely impressed by what they accomplished. Last week of the season, we're still competing to go to the SEC championship game. I think this is a win, and I think there's a whole lot more wins coming. But it wasn't just the football team. The Aggie band won every halftime again. The volleyball team ended up in the Sweet 16, so congrats to Coach Jamie Morrison and the Lady Ags for doing that. Our Traditions Council, I think, did an incredible job this past fall of honoring the victims and families at the 25th Bonfire Remembrance Ceremony. I thought that was an unbelievably memorable event. We completed our university capacity study and student experience studies to figure out what has this rapid growth done to us and how do we need to adjust going forward. We're now in the decision process, stemming from those studies, and we'll set the structure now also for our next vision statement, which will be Texas A&M 2040. In fact, we're accepting nominations now for the committees that will move this effort forward. So there's lots of things that have been happening over the last few months that are setting us up for what happens next. We're in the middle of a number of leadership transitions. Susan, why don't you talk about a couple of those?
Sure. So we've had some really just incredible employees retire, and R.C. Slocum, a name everyone knows, who's worked here for over 50 years, decided to retire on January the 2nd. He's irreplaceable. I mean, he's come off the bench now a few times to serve as interim athletic director. He's such a great ambassador for us, and we just can't thank him enough. I have reminded him that the only difference is now he doesn't get paid for helping us and being an ambassador, and he seems okay with that. So it's great. But we do wish him well and thank him for all of his formal service over the years. General Ramirez retired at the end of the year, who was our Vice President for Student Affairs and formerly the Commandant. And I told General Ramirez after the last cabinet meeting, I said, man, we all work to make an impact. And boy, you should feel really good about yours. I mean, he leaves a legacy of accomplishments of things that he did in the Commandant role and then as VPSA. And we're so grateful to Tom Reber, who is stepping up as interim as we work to fill that position. The search committee has been appointed. They had their first meeting right before the holiday break last year, and now they're working on the position description and moving that search forward. So that's good. Jay Silveria, loss for us, good friend of President Welsh, who President Welsh hired to run our Bush, D.C. campus, which is broadening, and we gave Jay an expanded role to really think about all the university components that could be viable at a unique, special D.C. campus. That was really the vision that came about from your leadership at the Bush School. He's got an exciting opportunity and is leaving for Arkansas, but Dean Sherman has kicked off looking for a replacement for him, and I'm confident that's such a great opportunity. We will also wish Jack Baldoff well soon as he retires at the end of February, and soon we'll put together a team to start thinking about a new vice president for research. I mean, we're an incredible research institution, and that position is very important. And then finally, I've been very personally involved as chair of the search committee for a new commandant, and our finalists have been announced. We have 4 incredible finalists who are in and around campus over these few weeks and being interviewed, and I know we will have an outstanding commandant, quite frankly, no matter which of those 4 finalists you choose. So an exciting time. All the work that was done last year that you talked about has really set the stage for an incredible year ahead.
Yeah, also searching for 3 deans right now. A new dean for the School of Pharmacy, a dean for the College of Architecture, and one for Veterinary Medicine and Biomedical Sciences. So some big jobs to fill, a chance to hire some great new leaders to come in and be part of this superb team at A&M, and it's going to be an exciting couple of months, I think. The other thing that we've just started work on is our sesquicentennial celebration. 150 years of Texas A&M and producing Aggies for the world happens in 2026. And so we're really excited about that celebration. And I think KMU and other parts of our media operation here are going to be intimately involved as we get ready for that. So that's a really exciting time for us.
It really is. And, you know, President Welsh appointed Julie Mosbo Balestro and Allie Rainey, who works with us in the President's office as co-chairs, and they really have an incredible group of people that they are leading in the planning of this. And every time I hear them talk, I think, man, I'm so lucky to be at Texas A&M right now, working with this president, working with these people, getting to celebrate 150 years of impact. It's a special time for our university.
It's cool. We're starting a spring sports season that if we can do anything like we did last spring, it's going to be pretty exciting. Yeah. I'm expecting a national championship in baseball, another one in women's tennis. Might as well win one in golf, men or women.
Sure.
It doesn't matter which one. Last year we won the individual women's golf championship. We can win the team one this year. Track and field, don't sleep on them. Coach Pat Henry's got the track and field team lined up, and got a really strong men's team this year. The women's team is always strong. There's an opportunity there. And, of course, Buzz Williams and the basketball team are not done yet. They are off to a phenomenal start this season, and the way they play together, that brotherhood they've created and the way they represent our university is just really, really spectacular. So it's just a great time here in Aggie Land, and we're excited to get to the new semester. The one thing Susan mentioned earlier about communication is important. And by the way, Jay, you, KAMU, the entire team are a big part of how we can do this in a better way. You guys do your part constantly. We haven't always done our part, I think, across the university because it's hard. We are essentially a 100,000 person city when you add up 80,000 students and about 10,000 faculty and staff and then contractors who work on campus. And all the things you try and share with a 100,000 person city don't necessarily get down to every citizen. We have the same problem here on campus. So how do we do a better job of making sure that nobody feels left out, that nobody feels like they're surprised by something that affects them, their life, their learning, their work, their research, their whatever. And it takes a lot of grinding effort by everybody at every level of this university. And so Susan and I are committed to doing our part. And we're going to try and help everybody else be enabled and empowered to do their part so that nobody is surprised anymore. Everybody will never agree. I don't think everybody in any 100,000 person city agrees on everything that happens, but they should be informed as to why decisions are made, what the result is going to be, what the resources available are, what the options are, and then have a voice in the decisions that are made. So that's the goal. And I'd challenge anybody who's listening here in Aggie Land, be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Well, I think we're off to a great start. But why don't we take a quick break? Our very first guest on At Ease is warming up in the bullpen. He's new Aggie baseball coach.
See what you did there.
Thank you for noticing that and acknowledging. He is new Aggie baseball coach Michael Earley, and he is coming up next.
And he's awesome.
Did you know KAMU Studios offers 14 original shows? All of these locally hosted productions are featured on our local shows, series, and podcast webpage. Topics cover Texas A&M, art, politics, music, books, gardening, community issues, and more. Find what interests you on our website. Then listen on your favorite podcast platform. Go to tx.ag/KAMU FM shows and start listening today.
guest. Our special guest today is the 21st head Aggie baseball coach, Coach Michael Earley. Coach, it's great to have you here.
General, thanks for having me. It's great to be in here with you guys and talk a little baseball, talk a little A&M.
Yeah, well, at ease, Michael.
Relax.
And take a deep breath. We are here to talk to Coach Mike Earley, who has been the coach of Aggie baseball since last July. I think it's important to take just a minute and understand where Mike came from. He was born in Anderson, Indiana.
Yes, sir.
He played a lot of sports growing up, not just baseball, but he came from a baseball family. Mike, why don't you talk about your baseball journey a little bit? Not your coaching journey, but your journey as a player.
Yeah. So I, obviously grew up playing baseball in Anderson, which was basketball-dominated town, but I played basketball as well, but always wanted to play baseball, me and my brother. So went to Indiana University, got drafted by the Chicago White Sox. My brother went to South Alabama. He also got drafted by the White Sox. He currently works for the Padres. And it was always important for both of us to, we wanted to become a baseball family. Like, we wanted the Earley name to be synonymous with, those are baseball guys, and that's a goal of ours. And, here we are, me coaching here, he's coaching there. Family's super supportive, in the game. My son plays, his son will play, daughters play softball. So just really sport-driven family since, the day I was young. Dad coaches in football, basketball, all those things. So sports have been a big part of our life, but I think baseball may be a bigger part just because we were better at it. It could have, so we kind of picked the one we were best at, but it's just, a game that's been really, really good to me, challenging, taught me a lot of life lessons. So I'm just super grateful. And as a family that, when you say the Earley name, you can say, oh, those are baseball guys. And that's something we always wanted.
Yeah, very cool. You forgot to mention that you're an all Big Ten player at the University of Indiana, or that in 4 of your 6 seasons in professional baseball, you were selected for the league all-star team. You kind of skipped over that part.
Yeah, no, I was a decent player. I always say I was just good enough to not be good enough, right? Like I got it in AAA for a month, and I didn't play very well, so I was back in AA real quick. So yeah, I had a pretty good career. It was a lot of hard work. I wasn't ever the best at what I did, but I always thought I was always physically as strong as everyone or stronger, and then I always prided myself on playing harder than anyone else. So I think that kind of got me a little farther than I probably belonged. But it's something that, like anything else, if you're not good at it, you better figure out a way to, compete with the next guy. So I always tried to find those little niches and intricacies in the game that I could kind of exploit to make myself better than I really was.
Yeah, fantastic. You mentioned the word family as being important to you growing up and in your baseball career. Yep. I know family is still really important to you, and now at this point in your life in your coaching career, and I'm sitting next to a lady here who is maybe the most focused family person I've ever worked with in a really, really good way. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so my wife Lisa, we met in college when we were both at Indiana University, and then my son Marshall's 11, my daughter Mia is 9, and my daughter Maddie is 6, and they are a freaking handful in the best possible way. I mean, they keep me on my toes, they keep me honest, they definitely keep me humble. They are not impressed by anything I do. Just ask them. I mean, we're all a lot alike, right? So I don't want to say it's trash talk, but that's just kind of how the household is. And now that my son is 11, he's getting better at it, so I have to stay up with him. And then my 9-year-old daughter's not too far behind. But I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, my biggest joy, my day today was awesome because I got to take him to school, right? And that's just a moment. Hopefully I get him on a good day, right? Because waking up a 11, 9, and 6-year-old in the morning is a coin flip. And like I told you earlier, tomorrow will probably be a little different than today. But just seeing them every day and trying to show them and give them an example of, hard work and handling stress and I'm not great at it, trust me. Like, I'm getting better, and I try to, every time I do something, I think of, well, if they saw me, what would they think? Like, everything, and I make those mistakes on the daily, but it's just that constant drive to, I want to have success, but I want them to have more success. So trying to give them an example, and then my wife is the one that keeps the ship going. She was with me when I was in the minor league. She's been with me every step of the way. When I got my first job at Arizona State, we had just bought a house in Indiana a couple weeks before, and I called her and said, hey, I got the job, we're moving, and she said, okay, when? So her support has been the reason I've been able to, kind of get to where I'm at today. And that started, when I was playing up until now. So my family is everything to me, and finding that balance. And I'm not sure if you remember this, but you came and talked to me early on when I got the job and you asked me how I was doing, and I said I'm trying to stay present with family and work, and I was having moments where I wasn't, where I was there for them, but I wasn't getting all what I want out of them. And you told me, just, you're doing the right thing. Just recognize it and just do better. You're never going to stop doing it, but just the point is you're recognizing it. So just daily basis trying to do that. And I'm sure I'll be challenged with that a lot during the season. But yeah, I could talk probably too long about my family. I mean, I love them to death. So I appreciate you asking me.
Can't talk too long about family.
No.
And I tell you what, I'm not even looking at her, but I can sense this.
Yeah.
She already likes you better than she likes me.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and I know she has a question ready for you.
I do. I hadn't met you before today, and it is just a huge honor to meet you, and we're so excited to have you here. And kind of looking from the outside in, I watched the press conference where you were announced, and I was struck by your family. You have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
You are obviously a very caring husband and father, and it seems like this is really where you want to call home. So why is that? What is it about this community and this place? If I interpreted your comments right at the press conference when you were announced, what is it that is special to you and your family about our community?
I think it's just being around a ton of like-minded people. Like, you're never in anyone's household, right? You don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but it's just that feeling of like-minded, and where family means something as much to you as it does your neighbor or the people across the street or the people you hang out with, and the values of how people live their life around here, which it's just something about it is it's the first place. I just feel so comfortable on the community side with the people around me. And there's a good and bad in that. Like, we all know this is a small town, so we're way more good than bad, but everyone seems to know everything about you is what I've kind of learned. And you run into, I just like running into people at the grocery store that or it's funny, like, my last interview was at the general's house with Trev, and, I get the address. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of nervous. And then I put in where he lives, like trying to plan when to leave. And it's 4 minutes away. And I kind of laughed. I'm like I'm playing it up, and I'm like, all right, I got to make this drive. And it's literally in the same neighborhood. So it's just that part of it, and just the tight-knitness of it. You just feel it. And people said it before I got here. It's hard to explain, but it's something for us. And just everyone kind of takes care of everyone. And I've always wanted that. And I feel like I have it here.
Yeah, my kids were first grade and pre-K when we moved here, and it's been a tremendous place for them to grow up. Lots of opportunities, so good.
It's been great.
So, big career change in 2017. You decided it's time to stop playing pro ball.
Yep.
And let's get into coaching. What drove that decision?
I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to coach. It's something I was doing even when I was playing. Was whether I started my own fall league for youth kids. For a year, my brother and I back home, but it's just something I always wanted to do. I gave hitting instruction probably since I was 16, and it was partly, to make money in the off season, and then it was partly because I liked it. And my mom was a competitive cheerleading coach, and then my dad coached us growing up. So I was always, they weren't coaches as their profession, but the time I spent with them, they were usually always coaching. So I just think part of that is what I wanted to do, and it was hard to stop playing. I played with the White Sox in a year independent baseball and had a really good year, and actually was going to go back and play with my brother, but then I was able to go to Arizona State, and that was, in March, Tracy Smith was the head coach. He was my head coach at Indiana. I, shot him a message to see if I could come shadow the program. And he thought I was just coming to shadow the program, and I was going with every intention to leave an impression to get a job. And it was crazy, but it worked out. I spent 3 days with him, spent every second. Me and him were good friends, so it was really easy to have conversations with him. And I got lucky, and a spot came open, and just like I said earlier, like that, I was moving to Arizona in July, which was I'd only really been there in March during spring training. So Arizona in July, running youth camps, and it's 115 degrees, and that was my introduction to college baseball. And getting to start out at a place like Arizona State I was obviously super lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, great baseball program for a long time. You developed a reputation really quickly as a great hitting coach. Number of your players there were drafted. I don't know if you're position players, which means they've got to be able to hit to be picked up in the Major League Baseball draft. Tell us about Torkelson, because that's a pretty spectacular story.
Yeah, he was actually here. Just a weekend before Christmas. Came out and hit. Loves the campus. Couldn't stop talking about it. So he's a very, very special talent. He's obviously. I'm not sure how much you follow the major leagues. He hasn't been quite going his way, but I believe in him as a person. But the day he walked in, I just felt something different about him. The first time I threw him batting practice on the field and saw some of the swings he took, but then once I kind of crawled inside his mind and saw how he ticked, it was just different. Like high level, like psychotic competitor, but at the same time could dial it down and could be coachable, and he would listen to you. And you got to be careful with a guy like him because anything you tell him, he can do. So for me, I was like, oh man, I'm this awesome coach. But if you could have told him the wrong thing, he would have done it. And I did that a few times and made those mistakes. But special guy, great competitor. But he's probably the best. I got a couple guys on this team, so I don't want to say he's the best hitter I've ever coached, but he's definitely up there. And he was definitely important for my career to be able to coach a guy that goes 1-1 in the draft. It was during COVID, so it was an awesome time. We also had another guy that year that was the last pick in the first round. So
yeah,
Torque's a special player. I owe a lot to him, and he's taught me as much as I've taught him.
I think for coaches, it's kind of cool to see that you develop a reputation because you took somebody who was a non-drafted player out of high school, who's essentially a walk-on at Arizona State University, and he ends up going number 1 in the Major League Baseball draft. Something happened to him during the time in the program with you coaching him. So, congratulations.
It was a lot of time, and he worked really, really hard, and I was just there to guide him and help him, and he was the type of guy that you just needed to be available. Like he always wanted to work, and he's probably one of the best workers I've ever coached, and he's still only 25 years old, and I believe in him as much as I believe in anyone else. I think he's going to be a big league all-star one day, and rooting for him every day.
Very cool. Somebody you want to coach your son.
Yeah, and I just want to say I think coaches are special. You have to be. It's a calling, right? The number of hours you devote to your players and young people is just incredible. And as I've looked at you in particular and heard General Welsh talk about you and Trev and others, you really seem to have, from my perspective, a unique ability to garner and create trust within players. The players seem to really trust you based on what I've observed. How do you do that? How do you create trust with your players?
I think just from starting off as a hitting coach, I always prided myself on I thought my best ability was my availability. So when I first started out, I want to beat them to the cage. I want to be in there longer than them. Even though I'm not doing anything, it's easier for me to stay in there longer. I just wanted to be available. And as a player, I was not like – it's one of those things like if I could go back and tell myself then what I know now, like I was not a very mentally strong player at times. Like I really beat myself up in the minor leagues. Like in the minor leagues looking back, it was awesome, but when I was in it, it was miserable because I was a late pick and I was just like trying to get to this dream I had, and every single day it wasn't fun. And so I can see when a guy's down or how he's handling things from a mile away. I'm not a psychologist, but I feel like in the baseball world I am. So I feel like I've seen every type of guy and been able to just relate to him in that way. And that's not all just putting my arm around them and patting them on the back. It's what's important and what they need in that moment and just giving them honest answers. And it's not always what they want to hear. But it's doing it in a way with compassion and understand that these guys have goals and they have careers. And I truly want – you're in college baseball, like you come to Texas A&M, you have the opportunity to get an unbelievable education that can carry you for the rest of your life. You get to play on a team that wins and is going to continue to win. And these guys have a chance to be high-round draft picks and play in the major leagues. Like, it doesn't matter necessarily what I want or think they should want. Every single guy we have wants to be a major league player. And I think they genuinely know that I want them to be that too. And it's not all about what I want or what I need or what other people want. Like, I care about what they want and what their goals are. And I don't know why. I mean, that's just, maybe they just feel it. And I hope they do. And the moment that they don't feel that out of me is probably the moment I should stop doing this. Just general care for for them.
Yeah, after talking to you, I think I know why. So I think I know why they trust you.
Okay, 2022, Arizona State gets tired of you. Or you see a great opportunity in College Station, Texas, and you show up here at Texas A&M as a new assistant coach and a hitting coach. What was the transition like?
It was different, right? I mean, Phoenix, Arizona to College Station, that's two different places, and it was a major life change. And admittedly, I did not want to make it, and it was tough. It was tough to uproot my kids. They had friends. You know, we loved where we lived. We had been in another new house for just like a couple years, and it was one of those things that I'm so glad that the feeling I had then is just pushing through that, and my wife helping me through it and family helping me through it to come, you know, just kind of take a leap. I had a couple other job offers other than A&M, and one, you know, another school offered me the job before A&M, but I felt something, and I turned that job down before I even got this one because I was like, it's A&M or I'm going to go to professional baseball. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done was come here. It's just that transition. Any change is hard. It's not that I didn't want to come here. It's just, you know, I'd been at ASU for 5 years. I just had my other daughter a couple of years before. We had just got through COVID. I think that's what made it probably harder was, you know, that 2020 season, we were a top 5 team, got ripped away from us. You go into 21, we have some pitchers get hurt, and then you don't have that great a year, so the head coach gets let go. So transition was tough, but I got about a month or two in, and I started to get my feet underneath me and kind of was like looking around like, man, like this is great. Like, so it was, I think the people here helped me through that moment as much as my family did.
Impact was pretty quick on the offense here of our baseball team at Texas A&M. First season in the conference schedule, the Aggies led the league in batting average, runs scored, and runs batted in.
Good players.
Pretty good hitting coach too, is my guess.
Yeah, that was a really fun year. I think a player that was super. I have a player at Arizona State who I say is the most important player I've ever coached. His name's Carter Aldretti, just because he was a leader of the team and he worked really hard. And when I became the hitting coach my second year, he really, like, the guys followed him, and he followed me. Jack Moss came over here from Arizona State with me and had been with me for a year, and you'd be around Jack in the cage, you know, for 5 seconds, realize he's good and that he works hard. So him being at A&M, he was the most important hitter I've ever coached just because he knew what I was about, and guys saw this new guy come in, worked really hard. He kind of helped, you know, get the message out. But I think we just I wanted to create a culture here from a hitting standpoint of, like, I want to rip you out of the cage. Like, I need to tell you to stop. Because I said at my press conference, and it's true, and A&M widely has been known as a pitching school. So I was like, not when I'm here. That's like, and it's not about me. It's about bringing in the right guys, creating the right culture, creating the right work ethic, and, you know, just like I want to leave and be like, I want people to look and be like, oh, A&M, those guys rake, like those guys hit, and we've done it. We've done a really good job. We've done a really good job controlling the strike zone, and we've done a really good job of, you know, bringing in the right players to kind of fit the system and how we do things. So it's and like I said before too, I want to be a both school. I like to hit and pitch really well. So
well, the last couple of years on offense, the team's been spectacular, and there's no question that they think they got the right hitting coach here in town for the last 2 years. You got Gavin Grohovic setting a new Aggie record for most home runs by a freshman. You got 3 guys hitting 20 or more last year. It's really an incredible offensive team.
Yeah, it was really, really impressive. And, you know, it was funny because Jace held that record for 1 year, so Gavin made sure to let him know as soon as he hit that. I think when Gavin hits the home run, it's against, pretty sure it's against Louisiana Lafayette. He crosses the plate, and Jace is right there, and you see Jace kind of laughing. Usually you don't see Jace laughing, you know, right before he's about to get an AB. And then, having 3 players hit 20. I think at one point it was the first team to ever have 3 with 20 in the new bat era, and then Tennessee had some guys get hot at the end. But yeah, just a really, really good explosive team. What you want as an offense, and the best compliment you can get as a coach or to your team as an offense is, man, you guys are relentless, because they just take you down in the deep end. They eventually drown you, because that's what you want. You might get 2-3 innings in, you don't get anything going. But when you got 9 guys collectively giving competitive at-bats over and over and over again over the course of 3 games, you can really, really wear people out. So hitting is a very individualized sport when you're in it, but if you play it as a team and you keep passing it to the next guy and you don't kind of get outside what you do, which is going to happen, one guy does it, it's fine. 2, 3 guys do it a few times through the order, that's when you have trouble. Mix it in with, what do they say, hitting a round object with the bat, all those things. It's just not easy to do. 2 round objects or whatever it is, coming in sometimes at 100 miles an hour, good luck. And I try to never forget how hard hitting is.
Susan's got 2 boys who both compete in different sports.
They sure do.
So she knows how much they enjoy it, and she followed the World Series as closely as the rest of us did.
I did.
Here at A&M last year. Talk to us about being the national runner-up, good and bad, and the experience in Omaha.
Someone asked me, like, how is Omaha? The honest answer from me is Omaha is miserable as a coach. It is just not. It's fun when the game starts, and it's fun when you win, and then you enjoy it for about 10 minutes. And honestly, Omaha is like you want to win, and you play for those off days. Those off days in Omaha are the best. When you win and you play and you get the off day and you get to take your kids to the park and you go to batting cage and get a light practice in, get a good meal, like those are the best. So it's good and bad, just weighing like the stress of it. But being the runner-up was tough. I mean, it's the toughest. I think definitely number one. I think first used to be getting released from professional baseball. Just how I felt in that moment was pretty terrible. But I've forgotten that and over it, and getting runner-up is something I'll never get over. That is, from a baseball perspective, keep everything in life in perspective. From just pure baseball, that's one of the most awful things ever. But when you look back at how we got there and what we had to do and the sacrifices and losing Braden and Caden stepping up and the storylines with it that part was awesome. Just seeing those guys come together as a team and how they bonded, and they bonded because they played well and they expected each other to play well, and we won a lot of games. So it was cool. It's obviously something I'll never forget, but also something that'll keep me up at night, and until we win one, and I think it'll always still keep me up at night. I was having bad dreams about it for the first couple months after, which was I'd wake up and I was kind of embarrassed, but at the same time I'm like I can't help it how it goes through my head.
So I think, President Welsh, we need to let him quit talking about that and look to the future, right? So what are you most excited and worried about as when does baseball start?
February 14th.
February 14th. I apologize for not knowing that.
It's all right.
Obviously, I'll have a Valentine's date at the baseball park.
Yep.
Yeah. Eddie, hint, hint. So as we approach that date, what are you most excited about and most worried about?
I'm just excited to get into the routine of practice and playing and get into the season. And I want to say I'm worried about much, except for it's just the beginning of the year build up, right? Like, so yesterday or 2 days ago, we got ranked number 1 in a poll. It's probably not going to be the last poll we're ranked number 1 in, and all the hype and all the hoopla, and it's the outside noise that you try to drown out, but it's there. And I think coaches try to shy away from it, but there's good to it, right? There's recruiting good. It's good for the brand. It's, it means people perceive you to be good, and you got a good team on paper, which means nothing, but I like to go into a season with a good team on paper rather than a team that everyone doesn't think is good. I'm just excited to get into it. I'm excited to get, I was saying earlier, we play for the most part Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. So you kind of get in that groove and that flow of the season. You play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, play Tuesday, practice Wednesday, light practice Thursday, back at it Friday. I'm just excited to do that. I'm big about routine, and then the season just kind of has its own. Every season kind of brings up its new challenges, and kind of excited for the unknown and not too fearful. I'm just worry about guys' health and making sure everyone stays healthy, and that's probably definitely what keeps me up at night for sure. Now that I'm in my new role, I worry about pitchers more than I've ever worried about them. Those guys are something else. So I just let them do their job, but they always got something banged up. So I just try to trust the trainers and strength coach, and they've been great. But other than that, I'm just ready to get going.
It's great.
You had to put together a new coaching staff. So transition is always turbulent.
Yeah.
I think it's remarkable, by the way, that we have a preseason #1 ranking for a team with a first-time new head coach. It's a huge compliment to the team, to you, to your new coaching staff. Talk about how the coaching staff has come together and how the team has kind of melded with your new recruits, your transfer players, et cetera.
It's been, the transfers we did a really good job of not only bringing in the right players, but they are the right people where they fit. And we walked away from, we all know NIL is a thing, and I walked away from a couple guys that I thought it was all about money. We don't need you. And I'm not saying it's not against NIL because I'm a proponent for it, but it's just the right people fit, and then the right coaches have to fit. And so far, everything's worked out. Bringing in Jason Kelly from Washington, being a sitting head coach was huge for me because I understand coming into this that I do not know everything, and I probably never will, and I need someone who's kind of been through it, someone who's been in this conference, and someone I know and trust as a baseball coach. And he's been huge for me from some, little things like how you do the calendar and just things you wouldn't think of or know about because I've never had a reason to know about them. And he's done those things, so he's been huge. And then Caleb Longley came from Texas. He's a guy I hired at Arizona State, unbelievable hitting coach, and a guy I've worked with who has no ego. So we tag team and work together with the hitters, and he is just relentless on the recruiting end. Like every time I think I'm about to take a breath from recruiting, Caleb's got someone else. Like we just had a guy in the other day that decommitted from another school. Caleb was on it. He knew about it before anyone else. He's been great. And then Will Fox has been with the program for years and coached the infielders, and players love him. Does the best batting practice in the country. You have to come out and take some swings off him.
That's what you need. Yeah.
And then, but yeah, they've just been, they work really hard, and I appreciate that. I judge people by how hard they work. Obviously, you have to produce, but baseball, you got to understand it's hard. Balls bounce different ways, and it's not as black and white as it may seem to be, but they all work really hard, and I trust them. So it's been good. They did a really good job recruiting the portal, done a good job with the high school class, our 25 class. Before the coaching changes, ranked 8th, dropped down into the 30s with some guys leaving. Some guys decided they wanted to go to a different route, and guys, I didn't necessarily think fit our program. The class ended at 5 or 6. So from 8 to the 30s to 5 or 6 to the highest ranked recruiting class that A&M baseball's ever had, which I don't think means too much. Baseball recruiting is a little different, but we'll take it. And Caleb worked really hard, and JK worked really hard, so it's been good. It's been really fast, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been a spectacular transition in my mind. What'd you think the first time you heard Rattling Bog and saw the bubbles?
I thought it was awesome. I heard about the bubbles when I first got here, and they were telling me, like, the bubbles. And I'm like, and then the first time you see them, like, get going and then adding the Rattling Bog in, and pretty cool.
That's Susan's favorite part of baseball now.
That's right.
I like when that song plays. That means we're scoring.
Every time. That's right.
And when it's humid, the bubbles don't pop as easy, so they kind of carry and stay out there longer. So that just means we're scoring runs. So every time I see bubbles, and my 6-year-old has like a little bubble machine gun that she's up there with that my wife usually takes and does herself, but I won't embarrass her.
The other thing that struck me in the search process was the support that Mike had from the players. The players really wanted him to come back as the head coach. And I think that was a major factor in everything that went on from that point forward. And their commitment, not just to Michael, but to Aggie baseball, if they felt if they had the right coach to keep them moving forward in their desire to be a professional baseball player in many cases, and they had a coach to help guide them that way, then they wanted no part of leaving. And they proved it.
Yeah,
it was remarkable, actually.
It was a fast time. It was cool. It was stressful, exciting. I think it was all the possible emotions you could get. So I love those guys, and I always will, and love the future players, and try to, like I said earlier, just care. Like, people know when you care, and you don't have to tell them that you care. You show it by your actions and how you handle them every single day.
So I watched Hayden Schott's podcast Down in the Valley. You got a future in this game, dude. Stick with it.
I would tell you to get him on here, but I might caution you with that. But who knows? I think you guys would be a good duo. He's pretty. He went to military school and high school, and he's an interesting guy. I could talk about him for a while, but he's I think he gives off one persona. Publicly, he's pretty funny, witty, just like psychotic competitor when he plays. So
he's a ball player.
Yeah, he's a ball player.
Yep. I had the pleasure. I don't know if you've been to Songfest.
I've not.
Songfest is a great event here at A&M that's run by one of our sororities, heads it up, and it's sororities and fraternities, and sometimes Corps units will jump in and be part of it. And they do show tunes together. They dance, and they put on these big Broadway-ish productions of dancing, and there's video in the background. It's really a lot of fun. Your wife would love it, by the way, and your daughters would love it. But the judges this last year included me, Jace LaViolette, and Hayden Schott. And the two of them are like aficionados, man. They know all the dance moves. They were into the details, but it was really fun to watch them interacting with the rest of the university, which I think is a really important thing for intercollegiate athletes to be able to do. Do you encourage your team to do that and to be part of this great institution and the 12th man that supports them so well?
I talk about how great A&M is in the institution, but I haven't had to encourage them because they're already doing it. Like, I didn't even know they did that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And those two guys are very, they walk on campus, people recognize them, and they understand what that means and what it is. And they're kids, right? I mean, not kids, or young men, but they like to have fun. They're not angels. I completely understand that. But they understand the responsibility of, being an athlete at A&M, being a student at Texas A&M, and understand that you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And I think they love it. That's why they act the way they do. And those guys, I don't tell those guys to speak the way they speak about the school and how much they love being here. They just do it because that's how they truly feel. So everyone on our team understands it's a special place, and a lot of it goes without saying, but we do try to educate them as much as possible on. I'm still learning stuff it took me about 2 years to kind of figure out every tradition and different things here at A&M. So I think we're all constantly learning, but all just feel like we're a part of something that's big and unique and bigger than any individual person, team, coach, or anyone. So it's super cool.
Baseball seems special here. Don't botch this and say, no, it's just like every other place. But, I mean, it really does seem special. It seems like you have a group of very unique, personality-filled players right now. I mean, I follow many of them on Twitter. They're funny. They're a little crazy. Yep. We've got bubbles and songs and the Bluebell experience. And I'll just say, you seem like a special coach, too. So it just all seems to be aligned with a special environment, special players, and a special coach and your team. So I don't know that that's a question, but you can
I'd have
comment.
to agree with you on the first part. I think this baseball here is a special place, and I don't think it is like every other place. And I think it's the best possible place you could play baseball, from the bubbles to the Rattling Bog to the fans in the street and left field with their shirts off to the Section 203 to Section 12 out and right. I don't think I feel like I see the smoke from the barbecue and the people banging their rings on the bleachers. I think your observation is correct, and I think we do have a ton of special players and people in our organization. I've been to every other place. SEC is the best baseball. Like, no offense to any other conference, the best atmosphere and places to play in the SEC. And just looking back, like, there's no better place to play than A&M in our atmosphere, period. And it's not the biggest stadium, but when you're in it, it feels like it. It feels like the loudest, and it feels like they're right on top of you. So I think that's an accurate assessment of the environment. When you go into a game there, you feel something, right? And when those start scoring runs or a big strikeout, like something or you get a ball 5 chant, which is the best. It's the best when you get it up, because they get off beat, so it echoes around the stadium. And I'm just glad I don't pitch on the opposing teams.
Indeed.
Well, I'll agree with you on the second part of your statement. We do have a great coach, and he starts the charge toward Omaha again on February 14th against Elon University. Coach, thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Thanks for agreeing to be our baseball coach, and thanks for leading these great young men you are privileged to lead in this program. It's really, really a thrill to have you here today, and it's an honor to have you at Texas A&M.
I appreciate that. I feel honored to be a part of this university and around so many special people, and baseball's a thing, you know. I get to do it every day. Like, I get to go to the baseball field and get to go to, I guess, work, as you would call it, even though I don't feel like I'm working at all. So I thank you guys for having me, and look forward to, you know, putting out a good product on the field. And, you know, these guys are special, and I'm going to try to stay out of their way as much as possible, but also keep them on track and get back to the ultimate goal. But you know, got to take care of business on February 14th and take care of business on practice January 13th. So that's kind of where we're looking. But thank you guys again, and I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Gig 'em.
Gig 'em.
KAMU Studios loves hiring students. We develop aspiring media professionals by providing hands-on experiences and letting them create for audiences of all ages. Recent graduate Maria Moctezuma.
You can come in with zero experience and come out of here a professional. I definitely wouldn't have gotten a lot of the interviews or opportunities I had if it wasn't for this job.
Eager to learn more? We'd love to connect. Email us today, kamu@tamu.edu. Okay, so you were a baseball guy, right?
I love baseball.
Yeah. But you played a little bit.
Yeah, but calling me a baseball guy would be like calling a sweet potato fry a Idaho potato.
I think you're being humble. What part of that conversation, which was great, by the way, what part of that conversation with Coach Earley really resonated with you and also with you, Dr. Ballabina?
Two things for me. Number one, I wish I'd had coaches who focus the way he does. You notice when he starts talking about hitting and coaching individual players, he gets serious.
Oh, yeah.
It is his life's work. He is absolutely committed to it. And I had great coaches. I didn't have coaches with that kind of focus. I think that's going to make him a great head coach. And the other thing is just his understanding of each player being different. Each of them brings a different skill set. Each of them needs to be, kind of motivated and incentivized a different way. Each of them responds to different kind of input from a coach. He thinks through this stuff. Just from having talked to him before, I know he does. So he has a plan for every player. I love that about him and his coaching style. And he doesn't back off from responsibility or accountability on anything, which I also love.
So at the start of the show, you two talked a lot about leadership transitions on campus. But are there any other issue-related matters or other challenges or opportunities that are occupying a lot of your time right now?
Yeah. Susan, you want to go first?
Sure. A lot of things. You know, every day is different in this role, and all sorts of things come at you. But one of the things I really enjoy about working with President Welsh is he does focus on the future and setting up for success in the future. And one of the areas that I think you've been really committed to, that I really appreciate, is engagement with the community. He meets with the mayors. I do a local radio spot once a month about community items. And, you know, recently President Welsh had the foresight to convene a group of faith leaders in the community, which was really fascinating and very much appreciated. You know, they're on the front lines of seeing and interacting with our students, our faculty, and our staff. And we gained incredible insights from that experience. And, you know, it just was so well worth the time on things that they're hearing from students about mental health or services or, you know, various other insights. I mean, we left with a long list of things to act upon, and our community engagement team reports directly to President Welsh, which I think shows his commitment to engaging with the community in a very positive way. So we're going to continue those discussions with the faith leaders in the community, but also business leaders and other groups as we move forward. We're all in this together, right? And we want to have good, strong relationships with all segments of our community. So I thought that was just an incredible thing to do and something to build upon.
A&M cannot succeed long-term unless Bryan and College Station succeed. And I think the opposite is also true. And I tell you what I walked away from this meeting was an appreciation for the contribution that all these different faith leaders are making to these communities. It's incredible. These are incredible people. Speaking of commitment to a job and dedication and focus on helping people, this was an incredibly I'm not worthy to be among them audience. It was really cool. So it was an honor to meet them all, and it was an honor to have them there, and we got to continue this conversation because it was very helpful.
Has that ever happened, though, with, to your knowledge, with a group of faith leaders coming to a meeting with the president of Texas A&M?
Oh, I'm sure it has. This can't be a novel idea, but it was just really cool for
She's giving you some
Susan
side
and I
eye
to meet
over
'em.
here.
Yeah, I'm not sure it has ever happened like that.
No, I think that's
I
tremendous.
think there are some alliances that exist and where people congregate, but to have an audience with the president and a strategic format and future opportunities to do that, I think based on what they told me,
Yeah.
at least that
was
group
cool.
hadn't experienced it before.
It was great for us for sure. We learned a lot, as Susan mentioned. Another thing I would mention that's a big deal for us here over the next few months is I mentioned in the opening the capacity study is something that's coming up in the future. The decisions resulting from that and from our student experience study, both of those things were intended to look at the growth that's happened at the university and how has it affected our ability with infrastructure or faculty or staff support to handle 80,000 students now in the right way and give them the experience they deserve to have here at A&M. Do we need more dorms? Do we need more dining facilities? Do we need more instructors in STEM career fields? Do we need more professors to do research in certain areas? All those questions came out in this study. And on the student experience side, the results of which basically mirrored the capacity study, it was how many classrooms do we have with 300 plus students in them, and can we fix that? Yeah. Do we have enough academic advisors? Do I have a chance to eat during the day when I have my class breaks? Or most of my classes are on West Campus, and there's not as much infrastructure out there, so I don't have a place to study or to eat or to park my car. And it just highlighted things that we are going to need to adjust. And the principal recommendation out of the capacity study was that we stop growing for 5 years or so. My guess is that'll be 5 to 7 years because it'll take us that long to make the infrastructure investments we need to rebalance some things on the university. And so we are going to make those decisions early this spring, set the resource plan in place, and then start executing against it. And it's going to require a different way of thinking about things. It's going to require thinking about cutting costs, not just adding funding. It's going to require thinking about where we add faculty, not just adding faculty everywhere, because some departments, the faculty to student ratio didn't get out of whack over the last 10 years, and others it's gone way out of whack, particularly in our STEM majors and our engineering majors. We've increased the number of STEM degrees at Texas A&M 44% over the last 10 years. In that same period, we've increased the number of engineering degrees 75%. Yeah. And so in those departments, we have not kept up with the faculty demand signal. And we are lucky that we have the world's greatest faculty because they have adjusted to that and they've carried this load. And the staff we have, which is all universe, has supported them and enabled them to do that. But that can't be the long-term solution. We have to right-size this thing. And we need more dormitory space. We need more dining facility space. We need a West Campus development plan because 30% of our students spend most of their time now on West Campus, which is brand new compared to the main campus side of the fence. So we just have to make these changes, but it's going to require people willing to think about the trades that are necessary. So if you have a new degree program and you're a great tenure track faculty member with an idea for an emerging field of study that is in great demand for jobs in society, and you want to start a new degree program, I'm going to ask your dean, hey, that's great, I'm happy to approve it. Where are you taking the numbers from? Yeah. Because we can't grow. And so within the colleges, they're going to have some very difficult conversations about what do we prioritize? Where do we lower the number of students? Where do we raise the number of students? How do we balance that? Doing it across colleges sounds like a great idea, really hard in practical terms. So most of the trades are going to be within departments or within the college. That's going to require everybody to be in the conversation. Our faculty have to be part of that discussion because only they know the right way to do this. And so when I talk about communication, it's communication that leads to very hard decisions that we need to be making here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, some of that sounds scary, right? I'm sure that's...
It's very scary.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if it's your degree program is being affected, you're messing with the crown jewels here. Right. But it's not about getting rid of things. It's about balancing things in the right way. And so we can't add to everything. We just can't do it right now or we'll break the place. And that is certainly not the goal.
But is executing this something that takes a matter of years or a matter of decades? This sounds monumental.
Initially, it's balancing the right sizing the university is probably a decade. But I think within 5 to 7 years, if we invest properly, we can add the number of classroom spaces we need. We can get the dormitory space realigned. We can get dining facilities in place to handle the current student load if we hold the load steady. And all we're talking about doing is stopping undergraduate growth and capping it at about 15,000 students a year between new freshmen and transfer. So don't grow our undergraduate population. Don't bring in any more than 15,000 a year. We can still grow graduate programs because they don't have the same stress on our infrastructure. And they give a better return on investment for their tuition dollar, which helps us financially. We can grow online programs and do extended education program growth, which again has a very good return on investment. It's the large population that affects the physical facility here in College Station that is our big concern. And what we don't want to do is get to the point where our students will leave here with more frustrations because of this infrastructure shortfall than they have great memories of Aggieland. When that happens, it affects A&M, and we can't let that occur.
So it sounds like the hard decisions being made now are going to result in a very different Texas A&M University 15, 20 years from now.
I hope not.
Not culturally, but I'm saying maybe physically.
It could. It's going to be a bigger Texas A&M, even if we don't grow any more students, because we need more facilities to support what we have. We also have to be more efficient with the use of the ones we do have.
Yeah.
And so there are other tough decisions. If we want to be able to offer staff, for example, alternate work locations, that's a great idea. It saves us from having to invest in more space, but we have to make sure we're not losing productivity in doing it, and that may mean sharing space. So instead of everybody having an office that they just don't go to a couple of days a week, maybe we are hot bunking in offices like the Navy does on beds on submarines. It's just a different way of looking at resource allocation and utilization and understanding that everything is competing with everything else right now. If you want to get a new faculty member in engineering, that dollar could be used for a new dormitory, or it could be used for a new dining hall, or it could be used for new parking garage, or it could be used for merit increase for our staff. It's all in competition now. That's where we are because of the scale we've grown to. And prioritizing things is going to be the name of the game for everything. And that's a difficult thing to do in an organization. It's emotional. It plays with everybody's crown jewels. And people need to be in the conversation. They need to have a voice in this so that everybody's heard. Everybody will not be happy at the end of the day. They can't be.
Any other issues you want to talk about it right now?
Well, I'll just real quickly mention while we talk about the university here in College Station, President Welsh also cares a lot about our remote campuses and what's happening at those and how that fits into the bigger picture. So I think you'll see us talking as the year goes on about some exciting things, challenges, and opportunities at those remote sites too, because those are other places where we can just create more Aggies as well. But we have to be smart about it and do it right.
Yeah. And have to have a plan for each one that's specific. We've got to understand what we're doing at Galveston and why. Why is that Maritime Academy so important down there? If we want to be involved in the blue economy, which is 25% of Texas's GDP, and has job opportunities out the nose for young men and women who might want to go in that direction that many people don't know about. What are we doing in McAllen and South Texas? And how do we create South Texas Aggies who love being part of that campus and aren't just trying to step to someplace else by getting a couple of years or a couple of courses under their belt? Because that's a phenomenal opportunity for us. We have to just be very thoughtful about what we're doing, why we're doing it, how it's connected, and then how we fund it. Because we can't expect the state to bail us out. The state's got a lot of funding issues they have to deal with, and so does the system.
Yeah. Right. So one of the things I know that you would like to do with this show is invite questions or comments for the two of you to tackle in some future episodes. And you can do that at tx.ag/@ease. And we've already had a submitted question to get you two started. So here's a question. What do the Corps of Cadets, and by extension you two, see as the biggest challenge in developing future officers for our armed forces?
You better take that first.
Okay. First of all, I think the biggest challenge is for us all to understand what the Corps of Cadets is and should be for Texas A&M. And I'll just give you my personal opinion on this one. Because to me, the Corps represents everything historical, current, and future about A&M. It is the birthplace of A&M. I mean, it's been here since day one. But it's changed dramatically in terms of its scope and scale compared to the rest of the university. For so many years, it was 100% of the student body. And even until about 10 or 15 years ago, it was a pretty good percentage still. Well, now we have about 2,500 students and cadets in the Corps of Cadets, and we have 80,000 students on campus. So it's what, 1/38th to 1/40th of the student population? That's a very different model than 100% of the student population. And so the Corps needs to be the shining example of its kind of leadership training program. It needs to be the best, which means it needs the best facilities, the best staffing, the best support, the best training programs, and we need to recruit the best people we can find to be part of it. Only 40% of the Corps goes into the military. The other 60% do not. They go into leadership positions and are wildly successful in every other enterprise you can imagine. So to some of our cadets, it's about military prep. To some of them, it's about preparation for life and leadership. And to some of them, it's some combination of that, and it's a legacy thing. I want the experience my dad did, my grandfather did, my uncles did, my brother did. And I want to experience those things that they did that were bonding experiences that bring them together. All that is possible in the Corps, but we have to do it right over and over and over again. I have huge confidence in the Corps of Cadets. I'm the biggest fan you will ever have in the office of the President of the Corps, ever. My oldest son was the Corps commander. I've spoken multiple times over the years to the Corps. I have recruited people from the Corps to come into my service. I've sent people to the Corps to get ready to come into my service. I love the place. And so I think the biggest problem always with organizations that have been around for a long period of time is changing to remain current and focused on what's going to make them successful in the future, not in the past. Things that we did 50 years ago were phenomenal 50 years ago. They're not so good now. And they're not what the U.S. military is looking for if you're training people for that military. And staying in sync with that change matters, because the support for the Corps that we get from the Department of Defense and the commissioning programs keeps this program afloat. We have to have that, and we don't want to ever put that at risk. So make sure we stay in tune with what the military is doing, so we prepare the best military officers we can, like A&M has for 148 years. Make sure that the students who come in to be part of a leadership training program for other things get the experience they need to go be successful in those things, and don't bury them in the military training, but give them the pieces that apply across both fields, and then give them the other things that they need that are different than what our cadets who are going to the military will need. All that's possible, but you've got to be thoughtful about it. It's not easy to integrate it. And there is so much passion around the Corps of Cadets because there's so many great supporters and former students and parents and everybody else who love what it means to their kids, that we've got to make sure all of them are part of this conversation as we figure out what right looks like in the future.
You seem on the fence about this.
Not much on this one. No, I love the Corps.
Great answer. So how about final thoughts from the two of you before we wrap up your very first episode?
Well, let me say, and build on his Corps answer real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I am confident that as we look forward, based on my experience with the Commandant Search Committee, that we are going to have leadership for the Corps that will propel them into the future and consider all the things that President Welsh just put forward. I mean, we've got people with tremendous military experience in the finalist pool, but also tremendous life experience. So I'm very optimistic about that. And then my last final thought, Jay, would be to thank you. You're the person who had the vision brought forward to produce this podcast. And, we appreciate you being part of a solution. You talked about everybody having an opportunity to come up with solutions, and that's what you did when you brought this to us. So thank you.
I never thought you'd say yes, but go ahead. You get the final say in this whole thing.
All I have to say is amen and gig 'em.
That's pretty good. Thank you, guys. This was a great start to what I think will be a lot of wonderful episodes, good information, fun interviews. So thank you for being here for this, and look forward to next month's episode.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.